Senator from Washington.
Mr. President, I come to the floor tonight because I want to remind our colleagues and the people of the United States of America, we did pass an infrastructure bill, and it was bipartisan. But we are here tonight because the very people that it takes to implement that bill, the very people that work at the Department of Commerce, the very people who work at the Department of Transportation are being held up in not being able to be fully confirmed by this body to do the work that it takes to implement that legislation. Now, I know this is incredibly important to people across the United States of America because we know how popular that bill was. So my colleagues are with me tonight, two members of the Commerce Committee who worked hard, contributed mightily to the Surface Transportation Act that passed out of the Commerce Committee in a robust bipartisan fashion to come here to the floor, was added with other legislation from other committees. So we're here tonight, myself and my colleague from Montana, who has a state as big as any state in the United States. It probably is the largest state. All I know is it takes me at least an hour to fly over it, so I guarantee you that's a lot of roads, that's a lot of bridges, that's a lot of railroad, that's a lot of infrastructure. And if it's not fixed and it's not taken care of, then the Montana economy is hurt. My colleague from Wisconsin is here, and she played a major role in the infrastructure bill as well. And she made sure that we focused on at-grade crossings and safety of our rail system. Why? Because we have to move products from the Midwest to reach Asian markets. And if they can't get there because they're stuck in congestion, then we aren't going to be competitive as a nation. So it's ridiculous that we're in this position tonight. Ridiculous that there are dozens of nominees for the Department of Transportation and the Department of Commerce that the majority of our colleagues support, but they're being held up by one or two people who don't want to see them move through the process. And I'm talking about nominees that are part of the Federal Railroad Administration, the administrator. We're giving a bunch of money to the Federal Railroad Administration so they can put grants out, authorize this new program for at-grade crossings to improve the speed of moving our product, and people don't want the FRA, the Federal Railroad Administration, to have an administrator. I don't know what possibly could be wrong with that. Someone doesn't want us to have the CFO for the Department of Transportation. The CFO? You don't want us to have a CFO? I mean, how political could the CFO of the Department of Transportation be? I guarantee you, not very political. The CFO is a person that is going to make sure that we spend the money correctly, administer the new programs as they get set up, and make sure the money goes out the door. Hard to imagine a lot of money is going to go out the door at the Department of Transportation if we don't have a CFO. There are other people here that are part of the transportation system on analysis. There are people, I'm pretty sure my colleague from Montana will talk about the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Why? Again, because I guarantee you there's a lot of trucks in Montana. There's a lot of moving a product, and you have to have trucking safety, and you have to have help with administering that, and if you have to have help with administrating that, then you need to have an administrator of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. These are basic positions. These are positions that are part of the infrastructure that we need for the Department of Transportation and, as I mentioned, the Department of Commerce. So these are issues that are important to us. And let me just say a few words about Commerce nominees. We have someone who is supposed to do the analysis of industry for the Department of Commerce. We have someone who is supposed to help us with trade and international matters. I'm pretty sure my colleague from Florida who is objecting to some of these nominees is going to say it's about the supply chain. These are the very people that we need for the supply chain. You need the analysis and the construct of the Department of Commerce to say these are the problems that we have with the department moving forward on various issues that we have with our major focus on our infrastructure. So the infrastructure bill provided $1.2 trillion in funding for transportation, for energy, for disparities that we have in our infrastructure, and that has to get spent, and it has to get spent as soon as possible. Markets in China and India are expected to be worth $26 trillion by 2030. But some people think, well, we'll just take that money that we gave to move ahead on our infrastructure, something that's been dilapidated for a long time. That's what people don't understand. Over several administrations, our investment in transportation infrastructure fell to less than 1% of GDP, and we didn't correct it. And the last administration didn't correct it. But this administration came in, a Democratic administration, and said, we're going to correct that, because economists will tell you you're not keeping pace if your infrastructure investment is less than 1%. So now President Biden's going to get that number up over the next several years, and that's the kind of investment we need to make. But we don't need to slow down, because there's a big world economy. 95% of consumers live outside the United States. But okay, let's just take our sweet time in implementing this bill and getting U.S. products to international markets when 95% of consumers are outside the United States. Let's just take our sweet time, because someone wants to object to these nominees, the CFO, the administrator, these people who have been moved out of committee in a bipartisan fashion. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation investment that we have to make, but they have to have people over there to make the investment, and they have to have people to be fully staffed, and we have to make sure that these important steps that the president is taking on supply chain are met. And that is why these issues of working on various logistics of operations, of pricing, of transparency, and overseeing shippers and making sure that some of our largest shippers, are committed to moving cargo during off-peak hours. My colleagues on both sides of the aisle know how important agricultural products being delivered to market on time is to creating, and we need to make sure that our farmers, our people who have U.S. manufactured product, like in the state of Wisconsin, are getting a fair deal on their shipping. And that is why we also have to have the nominee for the Federal Maritime Commission and get somebody on the commission who's going to hold people accountable to make sure that our products get somewhere safely and securely and in a timely fashion. So these issues that we're facing on the supply chain are complex. They're not going to be fixed overnight, but they have to have people in the jobs. They have to have people who are going to answer the questions, work together, and to get this done. So I would ask my colleagues, who I know are going to join me in making several nominations, I ask unanimous consent to consider the following nomination: Executive Calendar 315, Karen Jean Hedlund to be a member of the Surface Transportation Board. That the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate, the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate, and that any statements related to the nomination be printed in the record, and that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection?